She was born a princess and raised on Sufi pacifism. She trained in music and literature, but when the Nazis invaded, she became a warrior of resistance. Noor Inayat Khan traded her pen for a pistol and her gentle nature for an iron resolve, volunteering as the first female radio operator sent behind enemy lines in Nazi-occupied France. Captured by the Gestapo, she endured months of brutal torture, fought back with her fists, and never gave up on her comrades, no matter how much they tried to break her. Shackled in chains, she still dreamed of freedom. Her final word before her execution at Dachau concentration camp was liberté, freedom. That's Noor Inayat Khan, the spy princess whose courage, defiance, and sacrifice make her a true icon of Women's History Month. Noor was born on January 1st, 1914 in Moscow, Russia. Her dad was an Indian Sufi mystic, and her mother was an American from New Mexico. She was the great-great-granddaughter of Tipu Sultan, one of the famed rulers of India who fiercely resisted British colonial rule. She was raised in Paris, France, when her parents had to leave Moscow around the outbreak of World War I, and she grew up in a very multicultural household that was deeply influenced by the Sufi values of peace and compassion. As a child, she was quiet, shy, sensitive, and daydreamed a lot. She was also very bright. She was educated at the Sorbonne, and she studied child psychology as well as music and art, and she wanted to be a writer. She was publishing poetry and children's stories when she was in her 20s, and she had a flair for showing creativity and gentleness as she wrote. However, her life took a turn. In 1940, the Nazis invaded France, and she and her family were forced to flee to England. She was a pacifist her entire life and deeply influenced by those ideals. But she and her brother decided that they wanted to help defeat Nazi tyranny. They decided that fighting fascism was worth it, and that freedom was worth defending. In 1942, Noor joined the Women Auxiliary Air Force, where she trained as a radio operator. She was fluent in both English and French, which made her an invaluable asset in the Allied war effort. Her special skills caught the interest of the SOE, or the Special Operations Executive, which is the British Secret Service that was responsible for undercover missions in Nazi-occupied Europe. She was naturally a very timid and shy person, but as she said, we all have to play our part, and so she volunteered for a very, very dangerous position, and that is as a radio operator behind enemy lines. She was, in fact, the very first woman sent as a radio operator into occupied France with the code name Madeleine. She parachuted into France in June of 1943, and her job was transmitting messages between the French resistance and London. Her role was so dangerous that the average lifespan of a radio operator in the field was about 6 weeks. So she knew that this was going to be a very, very dangerous mission, but she did it anyway. She lasted for over 3 months, constantly on the move, sending vital intelligence despite the Gestapo closing in. When her entire network was betrayed and arrested, she refused to flee because she was determined to continue the mission no matter what. Unfortunately, she was captured in October of 1943. After she was captured, she continued to be courageous and defiant. She was tortured intensely by the Gestapo, but she never revealed any of her secrets or radio codes or the names of the people that she was with. Though she was a pacifist, she literally fought back. She did try to escape, but unfortunately it was unsuccessful. After that point, she was labeled as highly dangerous, shackled in chains, and placed in solitary confinement for nearly a year. On September 13th, 1944, she was executed at Dachau concentration camp, just weeks before its liberation. Her last word before being shot was liberté, or freedom. Noor's bravery and sacrifice make her a symbol of resistance and of freedom. One of the things that she really wanted was for, according to her, an Indian to win high military distinction in the war. She said, because, if a few of us could do something brave in Allied service, it might bridge the gap between Indians and the British. She was very brave, and she was awarded after her death the George Cross, which is Britain's highest civilian honor for bravery, and she also received military honors from France as well. In 2012, a statue of Noor was unveiled in London's Gordon Square, the first memorial in Britain dedicated to an Asian woman in World War II. Noor was a warrior of resistance. She defied her pacifist upbringing to fight for what was right, to save freedom and prevent fascism from taking over. She took very, very dangerous missions behind enemy lines to ensure that freedom could be secured. She endured torture and solitary confinement without ever betraying any of her information, and died with freedom on her lips, choosing freedom over fear. She paved the way for women in espionage and in warfare, and is a symbol of courage and sacrifice. She didn't just fight Nazis. She fought for freedom till her last breath.